the car and then had to walk. And never had any of the missionary children gone. And I said, why, Bob, of course you can't go. He says, now, Mother, you told me that I'd live until God was ready for me to end this life, and I want to go. And we let him go. He killed an antelope, and in the night, here came this great commotion in the yard, and he'd sent some Africans in with this antelope. He wasn't 15 years old.
So you went from a clean upbringing into a world of dirty tricks in your mature life.
Yeah. But the key thing is that as you get recruited into the CIA, it never occurs to you that if you're as naive as I was, and I think most of the young men that come into the CIA are, it never occurs to you that you're getting into a world of dirty tricks. The come-on that they have, the things they use to sell is that you're finally getting into the elite inner circles of the United States government. All your life you've been going through the amateurs and the prelims and the prep schools, in effect, and finally this is it. This is where the people are real pros, the frontline warriors saving the nation from communism. The Phoenix program was created by the CIA, and its purpose was to kill and terrorize. In Vietnam, I was forced to do business with a police chief who was a sadistic mutilator of prisoners. He liked to carve them up and throw the remains in the river. And he was completely paid and propped up by the CIA. His whole career depended on, one, controlling that operation so that the CIA needed him, and two, the CIA propping him up and funding him. And he did his knife work in a CIA safe house. We called it the Pink House. I reported this to the chief of station, and he said, well, you know, it's a rough world, and sometimes you have to do business with people that really aren't your first choice of the kind of people you want to associate with, so don't make a wave. And so I went back, you know, what do? Resign my post? Yeah, you know, that's obviously, that's your last vote, though. You resign and you're out. And I wasn't ready to give up my career yet. I terminated the safe house. I told case officers that I don't want to hear about it. If this guy has a compulsion to do this sort of thing anymore, I don't want to hear about it.
How does the CIA go about recruiting its future candidates for officers and agents?
Have any of y'all been approached here as recruiters come through here and talk to you?
No,
they haven't added in the newspaper.
You know, somebody in this room might be sweating right now because he's been told, you know, if they ask you, don't say anything.
I hear that they do use professors to keep eyes out in their classes for particular students who might be interested in that sort of work. But I wonder were you approached here at the university, or were you approached sometime later in your career? At the university, a CIA recruiter came through. I went and talked to them. He did not write my name down. And in early 64, I got a letter in the mail saying, would I mind if the CIA did a security check? And I wrote back saying, I was restless, and I wrote back saying I'd be delighted if it was for possible employment. With my background, there were fields where I would be unique. From the Congo, I went to the University of Texas and enrolled in the ROTC program. I graduated in 1959 and took a commission in the Marine Corps. I didn't see my future as a career officer, so when my term was up, I accepted an offer as a junior executive at the Gates Rubber Company and went with my family to Colorado.
We were very young and idealistic with 3 children when the CIA first approached us. We were in the Marine Corps for 3 years and did not want to go the military route, although there was a very promising career there. When you think about his job being a career or national security, I think that at the time the emphasis was career. I think that most of what he did was for the next fitness report, so to speak. I think that people generate activity that is unnecessary overseas in order to have some activity on their fitness report, and they really don't get promoted within the CIA unless they have so many recruitments, let's say, in a tour of duty, or so many operations, or ops as they call them. The way the CIA works, you're promoted on the basis of your fitness report, which you get every few months or at the end of every assignment.
at least once a year, usually more often. And this evaluates your performance both with a letter grade and also a written narrative. That and the assignments you get will develop your career.
I said, why don't you just go in there and tell them that this is immoral and this is something you can't do? And he said, well, they don't want, you're not going to get anywhere in your career if you say no to assignments. And by that time, though, he was hooked by the CIA, and the assignments were sexy assignments and interesting assignments.
In one post, we put 7 bugs in a foreign embassy. It was quite dramatic and very exciting, and we had officers and support officers and technicians flying all over Africa on this thing, and we got them in. Of the 7 bugs that we installed clean, we never got caught, 5 of them never came up on the air. They were totally defective. The 6th one would transmit, but the switch, the activator to shut off the thing when no one was speaking was defective, so it burned out its batteries in the course of about 6 weeks' time and went off the air. And 1 of them functioned properly. And that one, although it was in an ambassador's office of a country that was very much a target of intelligence activities, that one never produced a single disseminable report. And I felt like I was really making time professionally. I was a very young officer when I met my first president. We had a mutual interest. There were things I could do for him, and there were things he could do for us, at least in terms of making me feel secure in his country. If I was meeting him and he appreciated what I was doing for him, it wasn't likely that he was going to throw me out if I made a mistake or got caught. And it was pretty heady stuff for a very young officer. And it meant that I was getting recognition back at headquarters, obviously. You know, there's young Stockwell who's meeting President X. And we better keep our eye on Stockwell. He looks good.
My function at home, when agents would come to the home, would be to turn on the record player and be sure that the curtains were closed and that there was enough security in my own home that the person wouldn't, you know, be compromised by having come to our home. I didn't really, at that time, I didn't realize that we would be putting these people in danger and that some would be put in jail and that some would be dead.
A lot of other things happen in the world that's sort of like somebody pushing a rock off the cliff, and the rock hits somebody, and then, you know, they step back and say, I didn't kill him, the rock killed him. And this is sort of what happened in Ghana. The agency, to my knowledge, did not write a paper saying, let's overthrow Nkrumah. The chief of station there was a very aggressive man, and he became aware of the fact that there was the possibility of a coup developing, and he knew the players, people who in the army who were unhappy, and he began to report and to ask for encouragement, to encourage these men. And as I understand it, he was not given a formal permission to attempt to overthrow Nkrumah, but he was given permission to monitor the developments of any coup. And this gave him an excuse to meet these officers often, daily, several times a day, and to give them money, and in effect to give them encouragement. A soft file is a file that doesn't have an official name on it or cryptonym on it, and is not registered into the agency's IBM system, the system of 201 numbers, so that it can't be traced. If you come to the agency demanding to see your file, and if they have a soft file on you instead of a 201, you'll never get it. They may have a manila folder in there with reams of documents about you, and you'll never get access to it.
There were times when I said, well, let's just get out of the CIA. You know, Bob, really you're making a decision which is, it's getting to the point where it's going to be the CIA or it's going to be our marriage. And he chose the CIA.
What an opportunity. I was being asked to watch the Angolan ball game from the outset, how we got into it, what all the rationalization and justification as well as the decision-making processes. I was to watch this game not from the 50-yard line, but from the field itself, a player coach. I mean, go into Angola and get in the action where the people are groveling in the dust and losing their lives, as well as the high policy planning sessions in Washington. And I was delighted to have the opportunity to sacrifice a year of my life